All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining today. Welcome to the How to Use eatfresh.org webinar. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. My name is David Pettyjohn, and I'm the Product and Marketing Manager at Leah's Pantry. I help manage eatfresh.org and the eatfresh.org mini course. And today I'm joined by Lauren Small, who will take over around the halfway point to go over some additional features of eatfresh.org and the eatfresh.org mini course. We are recording the webinar today, so anyone who missed it can watch it later. I want to acknowledge California's CalFresh Healthy Living program for their sponsorship of this training. CalFresh Healthy Living is funded by USDA SNAP, an equal opportunity provider and employer. Today, after a quick introduction to Leah's Pantry, we'll discuss the different features of the newly redesigned eatfresh.org and eatfresh.org mini course. We have allotted a full hour for this webinar, but we have plenty of time at the end for Q&A. If you'd like to ask questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A feature on Zoom, and we'll respond at the end of the session. After the webinar, you can also send us a message directly via the website chat feature, or send us an email at products@leahaspantry.org. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with Leah's Pantry, but for those who are not, I'll give a quick overview. Leah's Pantry was founded in San Francisco in 2006. Our mission is to improve the health, wellness, and resilience of communities through trauma-informed nutrition security. To put it simply, we believe everyone deserves nourishing meals every day. We accomplish our mission in 3 ways. First, we work directly with a wide variety of program participants, providing opportunities for participants to exercise voice and choice and explore their relationship with food. Second, we build capacity among our partner organizations to implement our products and programs through an extensive training calendar, technical assistance, and custom program design and implementation. Third, we start new conversations and invite new perspectives into public health nutrition and food security conversations. So here's what eatfresh.org looked like when it was first launched. eatfresh.org was born in 2013 through a partnership between the CalFresh Healthy Living Program, San Francisco Human Services Agency, and Leah's Pantry. The idea was to create a mobile-friendly recipe website to serve as a resource for both the CalFresh Healthy Living population and local implementers throughout the state. There were so many great recipes that had already been created by CDPH, Leah's Pantry, and other agencies, and we put them together on eatfresh.org and did a lot of user testing to determine which features were the most important. Many nutrition and recipe websites are full of ads, conflicting information, and negative messaging about body image. We built eatfresh.org to be a trusted and easy-to-use resource that people can rely on for accurate and relevant information. It has continuously improved over the last few years as we've added new recipes, content, and improved the user interface, making it easy and enjoyable to use. Today, eatfresh.org is part of the USDA National SNAP Ed Toolkit and is being used in communities and programs nationwide. eatfresh.org is also a great tool for program leaders who are implementing nutrition programs in community settings. Leah's Pantry programs like Food Smarts, the Nutrition Pantry program, and Around the Table all have activities centered around eatfresh.org. Our goals for this new redesign were as follows: designing and adding accessibility features that adhere to the Americans with Disabilities Act, lightning fast page loads, a colorful, modern, and easy-to-use interface, and adding more delicious and easy-to-make recipes and meal plans. All right, so before we go ahead and take a look at the site, I wanted to take a quick survey. So in the chat box, I would like to get everyone's opinion. What are some features of a great recipe website? For example, are they sites with lots of videos or enticing photos? Websites with lots of highly rated recipes? And is there anything else you can think of? You can let us know in the chat box. So please go ahead and type in your ideas now. And I'll give us about a minute to do that. Okay, yeah, so hopefully some of these features that you mentioned will pop up throughout the webinar as we go here. Okay, let's hop over to eatfresh.org, and we'll start by taking a look at the website, and initially we'll just review this homepage here. So you'll notice right off the bat that is bright and colorful, like Maggie mentioned, and we've color coded the website for easy navigation. The Find a Recipe feature and meal plan section is coded in beet purple. And below that, the Ask a Dietitian is in pepper red. This is an area where you can submit a question to the dietitian or read answers to others' questions. Find a Farmer's Market is in carrot orange. And this section is links to ecologycenter.org, and it has a list of farmers markets in California and designate which farmers markets accept EBT. To the right, Get Help Putting Food on the Table is in the mango yellow color, and it links to getcalfresh.org. Eatfresh.org doesn't directly assist people applying for CalFresh benefits. Here, it simply provides a link to the CalFresh benefits page. Up below that, the Cultivate a Healthy Lifestyle section is this fun chat box in the bottom left, and it's a conversation that we've made up based on real conversations that we've had. It starts with someone talking about not eating breakfast in the morning and ends with a link to quick breakfast solutions. This section is coded in avocado green. And to the right, in the olive green section, is our Discover Foods section. This page contains ways to learn more about specific foods or food groups, like how to cook it, store it, and why it's good for our bodies. Up in the top right, we have our social media icons linking to Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I recommend taking a look at these accounts when you have time. Our registered dietitian posts weekly food and lifestyle tips to Facebook and Instagram. And the YouTube channel is a great resource that includes step-by-step recipe how-to videos and instructional videos that address topics like food waste, food packaging, and gardening. So definitely check those out when you have a chance. To the right, the globe icon is where you can translate the page using the Google Translate feature. This comes in handy when you're presenting to individuals who speak other languages. And to the right of that, the gear icon here is where you can locate custom accessibility features like toggling on and off contrast, increasing or decreasing the font size, and also using dyslexic font. And in this last kale-colored section at the bottom of the page, titled Learn More About Healthy Eating, is a link to the eatfresh.org mini course page. Below that in the footer, there's additional information about CalFresh and eatfresh.org. The eatfresh.org mini course link is also down here, and Lauren will go over this later on in the webinar. There's also a link called Healthy Tip Signups to sign up for weekly emails sent out by our registered dietitian, and a resources for providers link that will direct you back to leahspantry.org. And I'm going to go over this for a minute. I'll let Lauren go over it in more detail later on in the webinar. But let's click on this resources for providers link. And you'll come to the Leah's Pantry website where there's a page on eatfresh.org. And if we scroll down, we'll go to the, let's see here. If you scroll down a little more, you can go to the integration toolkit. And if we click on that, we'll come to a page where you can see there's lots of materials like videos, downloadable postcards, flyers, posters, and other tools to help you engage with your clients and participants. The pre-printed materials are free for CalFresh funded agencies. And if you are interested in placing an order, you can reach out to us after the webinar, and we can get you set up to place orders at your site. And so that about covers it for the resources and the homepage. And so I wanted to get into the recipe and find a recipe and meal plan section. As you might have guessed, the most used feature on eatfresh.org is the Find a Recipe feature. Users can search for over 500 low-cost and healthy recipes that are easy to make and affordable. Below the Find a Recipe tab are options to filter out your search to find a recipe that suits your needs. The great thing about these filters is that you can filter out multiple options at once. So let's say, for example, you're looking for a main dish and using a limited kitchen and looking for recipes with low added sugar. You can see the results for that. And this Find a Recipe section is also a good place to start if you're looking for a recipe for a workshop or food demo, especially if you're working in a limited kitchen setting where you have limited cooking options or if you have participants with dietary restrictions. We've also included a step-by-step recipe section that includes recipes with images to go along with the directions, which can be very helpful for people who are visual learners like myself. And below that is a search bar that searches just the recipe and meal plan section. This recipe section is also a great way to increase participant interaction during a workshop series. For example, we like to ask workshop participants what they would like to see as a food demo for upcoming classes, and they can browse through the recipes and find one that looks fun and easy to make. In one workshop, we had a group ask about foods like carrots, potatoes, and other staples they were getting in their food pantry bags. They were so tired of making the same recipes with these ingredients, and so we ended up using the recipe search to find new recipes and agreed on one for an upcoming class. So knowing what recipe was coming up helped sort of incentivize the group to come to the next class, and it helped generate some excitement around the new recipe. Okay, so let's go to a recipe that has those actual staple pantry foods, the souped up soup recipe, and go through the features. Quickly, I also want to mention that eatfresh.org was built as a static site, which means that the pages are incredibly fast and have virtually instantaneous load time, as you'll see when you're navigating the site on your own. Okay, so this is a recipe I've made before, and it's a quick and tasty recipe that can elevate a simple can of soup. So up along the top of the recipe page here, you'll see a few options. You can text the recipe as a text message. I like to use this feature by texting myself the recipe before I go to the grocery store, and that way I can have all the ingredients right there on my phone. You can save the recipe for later use. You don't have to be logged in or have an account to do this. The browser will automatically recognize you and save your recipe. So if you come back a month later on that same device, it will still be saved. It will only disappear if you go into your web browser settings and clear the cookies. You can also access your saved recipes up in the header of the website by clicking on the saved icon link, which we'll demonstrate here. And there are also options to print out the recipe and to share it to social media. Also, you can rate the recipes by clicking on the heart icon here in the top right of the recipe image. Below the recipe image is the time it takes to make the recipe and number of people it will serve. And to the right of that are dietary information icons, such as dairy-free, gluten-free, low added sugar, and can be vegan or vegetarian when using vegan and vegetarian soups. And underneath the image are the materials needed to make the recipe. And below that, the ingredients list. So say you're doing a recipe demo with this recipe or want to do a taste test with a large group of people. You can increase or decrease the serving size using the ingredient calculator, and the ingredient amounts will adjust with the changes as seen here. You can also see that if you hover over any of the ingredients, you can see the try this instead list, which are substitutions for that specific ingredient. Clicking on the read more link will take you to the Discover Foods page for that item, which will give tips on how to store, purchase, and use that ingredient in other ways. And we'll go over this later on in a little more detail. And then next we have the directions, and I personally love these step-by-step recipes with the images next to the directions because they serve as a great visual aid while you're making the recipe. On some of the eatfresh.org recipes, we also have directions that give instructions on how to cook it with a rice cooker or in a microwave. So again, this recipe is great for someone who doesn't have a full range of kitchen tools to work with. And below the directions, we have the chef's tips that says use dried spices, such as chili or garlic powder, to add flavor without salt. Some of the recipes will contain chef's tips like this one for advice on preparing or serving the recipe. And below that, we have the nutrition label, and we make these for every recipe. To the right of that is the source of where the recipe originated. And that's it for the recipe section. If you have any questions about the pages that we just went over, you can add them to the Q&A feature, and we will go over them at the end. Okay, so now we're going to move on from the recipes to the meal plan section. Let's go ahead and open up the meal plan section in the menu dropdown. And we have 36 meal plans available on eatfresh.org. You can see we've grouped them into 6 sections: very quick, low added sugar, kid-friendly, vegetarian, slow cooker, crockpot, and festive. So let's open the very quick meal plan section, and I'll choose the 3 satisfying snacks meal plan from the very quick group, and we'll open up the link to the PDF labeled Download Meal Plan and Shopping List. The ingredients in this list, or in this PDF, are grouped into sections titled Fresh Produce, Dry Goods, Dairy, and Pantry Staples to make it easier to shop for these items at the grocery store. And then below that are the 3 recipes you can make with these ingredients. So this is a great resource to get your participants practicing meal plans. If you're also running the Food Smarts program at your site, it can also be a great supplement to the creating a meal plan and grocery list activity. And so that's all I have for this section. Again, if you have any questions about the meal plan section, feel free to include it in the Q&A. And now I'm going to switch over and let Lauren Small go over the remaining sections and the eatfresh.org mini course.
Thanks, David. So I'm going to talk about the Ask a Dietitian section. It looks like David's got that up. Perfect. Thank you. So this section can be accessed in 2 ways, by clicking on the main menu, where you'll see main topics, or directly on the link from the homepage. I often have participants in my nutrition education workshops that have specific questions that would need to be answered by a registered dietitian or doctor. Well, I do want to make it clear that we can't provide medical advice. This section allows workshop participants to ask questions to one of our registered dietitians. So let's say I'm doing a workshop with caregivers, and one of them tells me their child is a picky eater. I can point them to this specific topic, and they can review some of the most common questions we have around this topic. If the caregiver can't find the answer, they can select Ask a Question, and this chatbot will appear. If one of our dietitians is online at the moment, they'll be able to have a live chat. If not, they'll receive an answer as soon as possible via email. So we'll now move on to the Discover Food section. So oftentimes in workshops, we'll present a recipe that includes an ingredient that someone hasn't tried before, or they're unsure of how to use the ingredient in a recipe. The Discover Food section allows you to pick a food type, such as pantry item, protein, dairy, fruit or vegetable, or browse through the entire list. So let's say I do a recipe demo that includes eggplant, and a participant enjoys the eggplant and wants to learn more about how to cook it. So there's 2 search options. You can click on the vegetable section and select eggplant, or directly in the search area where it says keyword and type in eggplant. So let's move on now to the eggplant page. You'll see the page begins with pictures so that the item can be easily identified in the store. The Foods Included section details what varieties of food are most common. Then there's a description of the item, which includes what it looks like and common uses. And the Buy It section lists how to choose one when purchasing. Then there's tips on how to store the item. And I've got to say these tips are really helpful not only for participants, but for nutrition educators as well. So for example, I like to prep part of a recipe demo before if I know I don't have a lot of time during the live session. By reviewing these tips, I can see that I wouldn't want to pre-prep the eggplant as the flesh turns brown quickly when cut. And one of the most popular sections is how to cook, which is really key for those who don't have any eggplant cooking experience. Then the what makes it great section talks about key nutrients. And finally, the try it section shows a bank of recipes that include eggplant, which empowers the participant to try a new recipe on their own. And these Discover Foods profiles also work well in food pantry settings, especially with foods that may be new to recipients. These pages can be printed and inserted into a food bag so that the recipient will be able to learn how to cook the item. So now we'll move on to the Cultivate a Healthy Lifestyle section. And we know that eating a balanced diet of fresh whole foods is a very important part of being healthy, but there's other things that are also important. The topics seen here can help lead to a path towards better health. Let's say I want to include more movement into my life, but I want to start slowly. I can go to the physical activity section and click on this entry that talks about gentle ways to move my body. This particular topic has been helpful in workshops with seniors. So you'll notice different tips of how to be active, and then a try this section down in tan with a tip for trying the topic, which can be really helpful in workshops, especially when participants are working on setting a SMART goal, such as in a Food Smarts workshop. So now let's go on to the eatfresh.org mini course. And this mini course was inspired by feedback from our low-income audience and staff of partner organizations. We found that 71% of SNAP-eligible eatfresh.org users had never attended an in-person nutrition workshop. And this indicated an unmet need in the California SNAP Ed program. So we built and launched the mini course in 2016. The mini course leverages the SNAP Ed content from eatfresh.org by covering a wide variety of nutrition and food resource management topics. This is a free online self-paced course with 15 topics that cover nutrition, cooking, and resource management basics. Each of these topics takes 5 to 10 minutes to complete, and this course is designed for adults and is available in English and Spanish. And it's also mobile friendly, so you can take it around and while you're maybe waiting in line and do a topic. We're in the process of creating 5 new topics over this next year, so look out for those soon. So to access the mini course, you're going to go down to the bottom and click on Start Continue this free course. If this is your first time taking the course, you'll click on the Sign Up button to access the mini course. If you've already taken a training with Leah's Pantry before, you can go directly to the Talent LMS site, go to Course Catalog, and add yourself to the course this way by clicking Get This Course. Now, I'll provide an overview of the mini course content. So once I log in here, you'll see the first section includes a demographic survey. And this is used for reporting purposes. So this information can be provided quarterly to organizations with a referral code, and I'll get more into that later. The next item you'll see is a check-in questionnaire, which is a survey to assess the participants' baseline nutrition knowledge. Then we have 5 topics on nutrition basics. And once these 5 topics are complete, the participant takes the nutrition basics follow-up questionnaire, which contains the same questions as the check-in questionnaire. Now these 2 questionnaires are used to gather pre-post data. And moving on, the participant will learn how to create wholesome meals, and then also learn about planning and shopping. So I'd like to take a moment now to take a look at one of these interactive topics. We're going to look at the Identify Whole Grains topic. And before we get started here, I just want to point out we're kind of starting in the middle of this one, but typically when you start a course, it has a portion where you can enter your name, so it's personalized, and you'll run through videos and interactive videos here. So with that, I'll go ahead and start playing this one for you to watch.
Is that why you buy whole wheat bread? Because it has more nutrients than white bread?
Yeah, Dad. Actually, we eat a lot of whole grains. You just didn't know it.
Really? Like what?
Help John identify these whole grains. Drag each grain to the box with its description. After matching all the grains to their descriptions, click Done. Oatmeal. Many people eat this healthy whole grain for breakfast. It is also made into healthy breads and other baked goods. Quinoa. This tiny grain contains a lot of protein. It looks like a seed because it is. It could be white, red, and even black. Barley. This whole grain looks a lot like brown rice and tastes like whole wheat. People add it to soup because it doesn't get mushy. Whole wheat flour. When whole wheat kernels are ground, the result is whole wheat flour. This flour is a main ingredient in healthy breads, pancakes, and even pasta.
So now you'll see I'll go ahead and try to match these up. And once I do that, I'll
Try
click Done.
again. That's
And as you can
incorrect.
see,
Please click the View Answer button to proceed.
it will show
The
you if
correct
you're doing
answers
correct,
are displayed for you.
and then it'll show the correct answers for you, so you can try again and see where you went wrong there. So it's really fun to be able, like, I love to be able to go in and actually play around instead of just watching videos. So very interactive, which is great. So now I want to move on to the mini course for educators. And this is a 5-topic course created to support educators, nutrition educators. So like the mini course, it's available in English and Spanish and is mobile friendly. And this course covers topics that focus on different aspects related to leading efficient and effective classes using CalFresh Healthy Living messaging, adult learning theories, and facilitation best practices. So the mini course for educators can be used as a training and technical assistance resource. And this course is ideal for organizations you may work with that incorporate the course into facilitator or volunteer onboarding processes. So now I'm going to move on to one of my slides here. And I want to take you some use case scenarios and best practices for the mini course. With hybrid and remote class options becoming more widely used, the mini course is really a great way to offer nutrition education to class not participating through in-person classes. With Zoom or other online platforms, the screen can be shared for the online class to view together. If you are teaching an in-person class, you can project the video on a larger screen and have multiple people watching the course at once. And some other best practices include having the staff complete the mini course and the mini course for educators as part of a wellness challenge or to incentivize the staff. Many of our partners promote the mini course with staff or volunteers, especially those who don't have a background in nutrition. It provides a great overview of the type of simple nutrition messages that are appropriate to share with our target populations. You can pair the mini course lesson with a food component. If you have a place where clients are accessing computers, you can run a mini course lesson. For example, you can run a 90-minute mini course class and add either a taste test or demo at the end as an incentive to participate, so that participants can eat together and share their thoughts on the course. And last, we can pair the mini course lesson with an existing group or campaign. So sometimes, as we know, it's hard to drum up participation for a completely separate event. So pair it with an event that's already going on. So if the community center you're working with has a computer lab, you can check out the schedule, as you might be able to combine a mini course class with a computer literacy or health-related workshop. And the same concept also applies to virtual classes. These mini course resources, as well as general eatfresh.org resources, can be found in the Toolkit, which we briefly looked at on the Leah's Pantry website. So the best way to access these materials is to go onto the eatfresh.org homepage, and you can click on resources for providers. And then once we get there, we can go back to that integration toolkit. And I want to have a quick side note here that all of these materials are housed within the Leah's Pantry website and not eatfresh.org, because eatfresh.org is our client-facing site. So all of this partner-related information will always be on the Leah's Pantry organization's site. So I want to give you some examples of the resources we have available. And a few of these I really love using. The first one is the cultural accommodation tips. And these are print-ready sheets for accommodating different cultural food preferences. This includes Filipino, Russian, Somali, Vietnamese, Haitian, and Cambodian. And you'll see foods that the group likely enjoys, foods they may pass up, some considerations, and kind of a description of the cuisine. Now, going back to that first page, we're going to go on to the next one, which is dietary tip sheets. So these are also print-ready handouts that provide information for people who are diabetic, hypertensive, and anti-inflammatory. So you'll see here there's foods to promote, foods that you want to distribute sparingly, and then some foods that should be avoided. And just a reminder here, these are guidelines, but especially for something like this, the participant would definitely want to consult with their doctor as well. And then a newer guide that we have is the eatfresh.org recipes for older adults. And we partnered with the Agricultural Institute of Marin and collected recipes that address the nutritional needs unique to older adults. The recipes we selected are low in salt and accommodate those who have difficulty chewing. Older adults may also have difficulty standing for long periods of time and chopping labor-intensive foods. So most of these recipes can be ready in 30 minutes or less and feature ingredients that are easy to prepare. So I encourage you to check out these recipes when preparing food for your next workshop with older adults. So let's go back to the resource page. And for those of you who are going to promote the eatfresh.org mini course, you can check out this section below. So we have getting started guides, as well as 60 and 90-minute lesson plans. And you can support your outreach efforts with the promotional flyers. And these flyers are great to hand out to potential participants and can be customized with the specific referral code. Now, the purpose of these referral codes is to have a way to track participant demographic information for your organization for reporting purposes. And so to get a referral code, you can send an email request to the products@leahspantry.org email. And another mini course promotion option is our customizable recipe cards. These can be printed in English or Spanish, and we can also add your organization's referral code to the recipe card. You'll find these in the shop section of leahspantry.org website, and they're available in different sizes. So you can see we have 4x6, 5x7. With the 4x6 options, I think we have 71 different recipe cards. So a lot of different options for you there. And these recipe cards are available at no cost for CalFresh Healthy Living funded organizations. So that concludes our overview of the site. Now I want to open it up for questions. So feel free to type a question in the Q&A, or if you want to just use the chat box, you're welcome to do that as well. So Ariana says, where can we find the cultural food preferences list again? Yeah, let's take a look at that again. So we can scroll down to the bottom, see the resources for providers. We'll click on that. And then you go into Integration Toolkit. And then under Resources to support eatfresh.org, you'll see the cultural accommodation tip sheets. All right, and we've got another question. I was at my desk for a minute, but for saving recipes or talking to a dietitian, do you need to create an account? For saving recipes, you don't need to create an account as long as you're using the same browser and not clearing your cookies. You do have the option to create an account if you'd like to save them. As far as talking to a dietitian, if there's not a dietitian available at the moment, it will prompt you to provide your email address so that you can get an email response, but you would not need an account for that option. And then Ariana, just kind of going back to your question, I do want to point out, we just, we highlighted a few of the tips, but you'll see there's a lot more resources there. So kind of depending on what you're looking for, different videos, we've got, our weekly email health tips, posters. So lots of good information in there. And then we didn't highlight these, but we do have downloadable cookbooks on the bottom. Yeah, absolutely. So, just kind of to close out here, I'd love to hear from you all, if you're thinking of any other questions that you may have. But just given this information, I'd love to hear some ideas of how you would use this in a workshop, or maybe you used eatfresh.org already in a workshop. Kind of what resources have you used? And we've got another question coming in. Where can I find topics for health promotion? Can you be a little more specific on that? We have some dietary accommodations. We do have our mini course, which provides the nutrition education topics. Oh, healthy habits. Okay. Let's go back to the cultivating a healthy lifestyle here. All right, so you'll see different things here, like the shopping and budgeting, physical activity, feeding children, general nutrition. So there's a lot of facts that are already there, and then kind of as we get more questions and more tips, we're always updating these. Wonderful. I definitely want to reiterate again that this this webinar is being recorded. You can watch it again. We're also always available. You can reach us at products@leahspantry.org. If any questions, or if you want to get a referral code set up. So we are available. And then also we have the chat option to chat live with one of us. Yeah, the YouTube channels, or the YouTube content, that's one of my favorites too. And I think it's so hidden because it's just one of the many icons that we have in social media. Sometimes I see a web page and it's like, oh, just more social media. But going into them, and actually, David, if you want to go ahead and click on it,
Sure.
and we can just get a sense. There's a lot of videos in here. And these can be great as well if you're doing a virtual workshop. I've used some of these. Sometimes, I don't want to do a full demo in a virtual workshop. So I'll go into one of these and, just play this for the class. So this can be a fun way to interact with your group as well. Plus, I think people get tired of hearing my voice all the time, so it's nice to have a video to break things up during a class. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining our webinar here. David and I will stay on for a couple more minutes if anyone has any other questions they'd like to ask. Other than that, we hope you are able to use eatfresh.org in your upcoming workshops and if anyone's working in pantry settings. So there's a wealth of resources here. So hope you can use those, and thanks for joining.
Thank you, everyone.